Welcome back to Carson Tate's video log, and I have here with me renowned author of fantasy fiction, Jane Fletcher. Hi, Jane.
Hi.
And we're in sunny Palm Springs, except the sun's going down. So
it's just sort of dropped behind the mountains.
Exactly. You want to pan on the mountains there?
You can see the mountains, which used to have sun above them, and now don't.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. But we're here by the pool, and we're here for the 4th annual Bold Strokes Books Lesbian Book Festival. And Jane, why don't you have a new book coming out soon, right?
Yep, in June, either June or July. It's one of the summer months that starts with J, and they're limited options.
And it's a departure from your previous series.
It's a new seller. It's be sort of in the subgenre that I refer to as being dykes with swords. So it's food fantasy. It's
still have swords.
They've still got swords. There's still lesbians in it. There's a romance. There's an adventure, and it's set in a totally new. The whole background culture to it is different.
So is it another world, or is it this world but a fictional place?
That's... Well,
you haven't thought of that yet.
Well,
you don't want to tell me.
Once the blog's finished, I'll tell you what and why I'm hesitating to answer that question.
We don't want to give away anything.
It's a bit of a crucial plot point that I'm hoping halfway through people will suddenly start to realise things about the world and its background. And if I start spelling things out, it'll take away what I hope is going to be this light bulb. It's a bit like I don't know if you've read the Solano series.
Yes, absolutely.
But I'm always quite amazed when people get. I thought it was quite obvious. I thought the first time I did it, people would snigger. But it's usually about the third book that people realise that there's 2 moons, and there's little Laurel, and later on I mentioned that there's a larger moon that's called Hardy. And a number of people who get, in like the third book, they suddenly realise the moons are called Laurel and Hardy. And I sort of think it's obvious. So
we have some surprises coming.
Hopefully there'll be some surprises. There'll be a few sort of light bulbs, aha moments as people read it.
For those of us who want to go ahead and get that on our early release list, what's the name of the book?
Wolfsbane Winter.
Excellent. And do you have something in your head for future? Several things, probably?
There's several things. The Solano series is one that permanently ideas. And people will say, what is the order to read them in? And people want to read them in chronological, and you don't actually need to do them because they are all pretty much standalone stories set in the same world. And so I wrote the first story, and when I was editing it, ideas occurred. And at sometimes there's secondary characters who are interesting, and I sort of think, okay, we'll tell the story about them a few years later, a few years earlier. And so yeah, every time I edit a book, every time I reread one of them, I get half a dozen ideas for that's an interesting character, that's an interesting one.
I love that series, so you can write as many books in it as you want.
like in the last most recent one, Dynasty of Rogues, you've got this elderly woman, she's in her 90s, she's head of this large family, sort of semi-legitimate, sort of mafia type big business running this, and she's sort of standing looking out of the window waiting for anything, and she's just thinking about when she was a young girl herself, her grandmother sent her to work in one of the family warehouses, and I thought, wouldn't it be fun to write that? And so whereas Dynasty of Rogues is the most recent one, if I do that, it's going to be like 7 decades earlier, back to when this main character is a young woman.
Well, I think those backstory novels are really interesting. So
yeah, it can be, make sure you just don't contradict anything you've ever said later, but there's usually enough wiggle room that you can still put some surprising stories in.
Well, if anybody can make sure that it's tracked really well and there's no inconsistencies, it is you. Because you're like meticulous.
I don't actually write too much. I'm not actually writing character notes and dates, so I do check. Before I wrote Shadow of the Knife, I reread Radiance at Road's End. I did have a piece of paper and anything. I thought, okay, that dates, that's significant. That ties this, that ties that. So and so's name is here. This person is. Any streets, any places I mentioned, I made notes of those just to feed back.
It was seamless to me. So, and I know your readers enjoyed both of your series and are looking forward to your new book. Say the name again.
Wolfsbane Winter. Excellent.
Coming out in one of the J months of summer. All right, well, thanks for joining us, Jane. We really appreciate it. And this is Carson Tate's Video Log signing out.